Now, one thing that came up in the conversation before you came on with Jose is that you are named on the Ukraine military kill list. And, here you are, you're running on, for US Senate. And have you gotten any support at all from any member of Congress or people involved with mainstream media about having that website shut down, or any kind of like security for your safety? Because as everyone knows, we had discussed in the last hour, it's a very serious kill list. Have you gotten anything of the sort?
No. There was from people who've been around the country calling the Congress. I know Representative Gosar in Arizona is the closest, where he brought up the CCD, the Ukrainian Kill List, and he said, did Biden create this because he failed to get his disinformation governance board, or whatever it was called, in the US? So now he's paying Ukraine to do it. So that was the closest. Of course, I wrote to Schumer, and as you know, probably Scott Ritter, the former UN weapons inspector, whistleblower, wrote a very damning article in Consortium News about Schumer's war on free speech, saying, and Ritter wrote also to Schumer, Gillibrand, and his representative Tonko. Tonko sent a form letter back saying, here's why we have to support Ukraine. I mean, it's like he didn't even read what Ritter sent him. And then, Schumer and Gillibrand had nothing to say. I've had rallies outside his office, hand-delivered letters, nothing. And Ritter said, isn't it a little bit problematic for an incumbent US senator to be financing an organization or voting to fund an organization that places his political adversary on a list which endangers her life? And he has, so no response so far.
So has any mainstream media covered that fact or raised it up besides Scott?
Well, interestingly, Newsweek magazine did an article about Jeff Young. It was after a Reddit we did with Scott Ritter and Ray McGovern, and they covered Jeff Young, and they tried to paint him as actually a Russian propagandist, although they gave him some straight coverage. And then in the last paragraph, and I have to say, I was really hard on the reporter, because I don't trust any close to mainstream media as the Newsweek is. And he said, well, what are your sources? Where do you get your information? And so I really lit into him, and I said, this isn't a matter of sources. This is a matter of reason. Maybe you don't know the history of the Cuban Missiles Crisis, but Kennedy had a problem with the Soviet Union putting nuclear missiles in Cuba. Ukraine is a lot closer to Russia than that. So it should be obvious to anyone who's thinking why this would be a security problem for us. So I really hit it very hard. And to my pleasant surprise, he quoted me straight. He didn't give me a lot of coverage, but I got a whole paragraph, and it was accurate. And they quoted me talking about the danger of nuclear war. So that's the one place that there's been, and the article came about because of this kill list, which they didn't call it a kill list. They called it a whatever list, I don't know, of a list of Russian propagandists or something.
Call it a peacemakers list.
Like, well, the peacemakers.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
And they're actually, and then when someone dies, when someone's been killed, they put liquidated is the word when it's translated into English. It's horrible. And I mentioned earlier in the show, Wyatt Reed was almost killed last week, and when his hotel was bombed, and he's on that list. Ava Bartlett, Alina Lip, Patrick Lancaster's been threatened. He's on the list. But you also have Roger Waters on the list, and other like luminaries. And I wanted people to actually, I want to kind of plug this right now. Ukraine on Fire, for those in the audience that really don't kind of know the history of the Maidan in 2014. Igor Lopotonik and Oliver Stone did wonderful documentaries. You can find it. It got taken down by YouTube and censored, but you can find it on Rumble, and you can find it other places. You can purchase it. Support those filmmakers. Igor Lopotonik was just put on the kill list a few weeks ago. Oliver Stone's on it. And, most recently, of course, Roger Waters. So what as you're seeing this being normalized, like, and no response from mainstream media, when you go out and you meet constituents, do you talk about the Ukraine military kill list and that it is existence and that it needs to be shut down? Or what?
Yes.
What is your?
I do. Actually, the focus of my campaign so far has been, as you heard from Jose and Kynan, to avoid having a nuclear war. When I have a chance to have a longer conversation, I talk about the kill list, and I also really focus on the fact that we're arming Nazis. I mean, Stepan Bandera was not some lightweight something or other who was just trying to do good for his country.
3,000 were murdered. Yeah.
Exactly. And the fact that they renamed the road that goes by Baba Yar, where 30,000 Jews were killed under his direction, and they named it after him. This is not a subtle thing that you could miss. And I'll tell you, this story, the truth of the matter, is really leaking out, because we had a rally. I've had a couple rallies now in front of Schumer's Manhattan office. And I'm happy to say one of the days we were there, I found out he was inside, which was particularly nice. The second time we were there, it turned out we had it the same day that Biden was there raising money for the Senate re-election committee. So I feel like our timing has been excellent. And we had a 10-foot long banner that said, "Why is Schumer funding Nazis in Ukraine?"
Right.
And I expected to get a lot more freakouts when we went out with and put a little Hitler mustache on Obama because his healthcare bill wanted to kill elderly and sick people, or not, they weren't worth the money. We got people trying to beat us up, run over the table, punch us in the face, throw the lid. I mean, it was like a violent rage. So I thought, what's the response in Manhattan going to be? Here I am saying a nominally Jewish senator is supporting Nazis. Are people going to freak out, rip up the banner, punch me out? What's going to happen? Actually, we got a very open response. We didn't get freakouts. I was had a rally another day somewhere in Manhattan. I met 3 nasty people who were I was at the Columbus Day Parade. 2 people from Ukraine who just disagreed and kind of walked away. And then they sent a rage ball, probably an Azov sympathizer or something, who came over and really got in people's faces. But that was 3 people out of thousands of people at the parade. So this leads me to believe that the media running their narrative has cowed people. Don't express what they know, but if you tell the truth, they know that it is the truth, and they're open to it. And that's why I do think we're perhaps on the cusp of breaking this thing open.